Hey, this is me building a $2 million a year business in public. Last month, I made $170,000, and next month, I'm not entirely sure what I want to make my goal, but I'm going to give you guys the play-by-play as I figure that out. So the way this works is I start with some Q&A, then I do some growth stats, and then finally I round it out with some live strategy. If you guys want your questions added to the Q&A bank, then simply comment below any daily updates video, and I will eventually get back to you. I'm just kind of working my way through a stack. So this is my daily updates channel. Let me scroll all the way down to the very bottom. And it looks like the last question, or rather the first question in the stack, is from the lovely Anand Jadav, 15. Says, "Hey Nick, I'm following you from a long time. I've started an automation agency, but I'm not understanding the problem which I'm thinking and trying to solve. Is it really a problem for businesses? How can I validate it?" Okay, so this is a great question. I assume Anand is essentially asking, hey, how do I figure out what problems to solve as an AI automation agency? And I think that, that's a reasonable first start. The reality is that there are 1,000,001 problems to solve, but the vast majority of problems in the type of business that I do, which is B2B, tend to revolve around a couple of key things. So if I open up an Excalibur here, most business problems, I'm just in a new setup, so forgive me. Got to make sure that my stuff is perfectly laid out here so I can actually write on the screen. There we go. Most of the time, the problems that businesses will have, at least B2B businesses, will be revenue-oriented or they will be profit-oriented. Okay? There's also one kind of third category, which I just call chaos. So revenue-oriented problems usually mean not enough leads. That's kind of the first, right? If you think about it, like literally the very first thing that any business has to solve before it can actually, make a ton of money is they need to be able to generate leads. So that's problem number one. Very top of funnel, literally the first problem that businesses suffer from is, how can I get more leads? From there, okay, it's how do I convert those into paying clients? So usually there's some sort of not enough sales aspect to it, okay? Another big problem is not enough retention. What is retention? Well, let's say that you generate the lead, then you sell the lead, then you do a really shitty job for the lead. Well, if you do a crappy job for the business that you are working with B2B, the likelihood that they're going to want to work with you again at some point in the future is very low. And the vast majority of businesses kind of make it or break it based off of how well they can retain their customers over time, because it costs a lot of money to acquire a customer for the first time, essentially. So you just want to minimize the proportion of your total customer base that is acquired at new versus recurring or retained, basically. So these are three major problems. They all contribute to revenue, okay? What are some problems that have to do with profit? Okay, so main problem is obviously too many expenses. This is a very vague problem, so I'll break this down. But like, what is an expense? An expense could be your payroll, could be your staff, could be the software that you're spending, could be the assets that you need in order to like go ahead and actually do the project. There's so many different forms of expenses that it's hard for me to tabulate them all. But basically for every form of expense, there is a problem that the customer suffers from that you can actually solve using systems or business process optimization. So another example of that might be too much payroll. Okay. Another example, the profit issues, too much marketing cost. So basically, you are spending too much money to acquire customers. What's a solution to both the profit and the revenue problem of not enough retention and too much marketing? Obviously, you improve the quality of your service. By doing so, you retain more customers, and then your total acquisition cost on a monthly basis will go down as a proportion of revenue. And then finally, you have chaos. Now, this is a little bit more subjective, but it's like, it's kind of like, what is the founder spending their time doing? Are they doing a bunch of things that scale or a bunch of things that don't scale? Founders should actually be doing a bunch of things that don't scale. You should be automating everything else that scales. How organized are they? Do they have like a single place to work? Do they just show up and have a beautiful CRM or project management system laid out that they can just immediately dive into their deliverables or tasks for the day? Or is it just juggling 5 million billion email addresses and stuff like that? And then what's their management structure like? So what's the management structure like of the whole organization? So are they doing like daily check-ins? Are they doing like weekly check-ins? Are they doing monthly check-ins? Do they have some sort of retrospective? Do they have some sort of like stand-up meeting at the beginning of their workday? Do they have some sort of accountability metric in place with the team? Do they feel chaos constantly when they think about, their team and how it's operating? Or is it just something that, works on autopilot essentially? So these are the main problems that any B2B business will suffer from. And so these are the main ones that you should aim to solve. So now that we have basically laid out all the problems, and keep in mind, there's some more problems, but these are like the main ones. Now that we've laid out all the problems, well, now you can just find systems that solve problems. And I'm not going into more detail than this just because there's many niches out there. So what looks like not enough leads for business A will look differently for business B. Same thing with not enough sales, not enough retention, too many expenses, payroll, marketing. All of these are going to depend on the industry. But like what's a simple system I always sell for leads? I do some sort of cold email system. Okay. Not enough sales. What's a simple system I do? I do like a proposal generator. This improves conversion rate. What else do? I do some sort of like autoresponder so that leads, wow, that does not look like autoresponder at all. Pardon the crappy writing here, the stroke width is too big. But what does this do? This improves conversion rate on the front end because people are getting responded to. How do I solve retention? I improve the quality of the assets that they make. So maybe we use AI. Maybe we do some sort of automated Q&A. Maybe we do some sort of fact checking. I don't know. Too many expenses? Well, if it's like a payroll expense, we use AI. We fire the vast majority of these people. To be honest, a lot of the time I'll come into an agency, we'll fire like 20% of their staff members. Keep in mind that these staff members were just leeching off of the bottom line anyway and producing usually very low quality work. But still, if you want to eliminate payroll expense, you do usually have to let some people go or restructure other people. Too many software expenses, this is where your process optimization comes in. Do you really need all of them, or can you combine them? Can you find better solutions? Too much marketing dollars? I don't know. Maybe you have systems that, as I mentioned, do much cheaper, marketing like cold email, or maybe some sort of automated PPC ad creative generator. Founder time, organized management. Maybe you have some sort of like daily forms that team members submit. Okay. Maybe you have some sort of CRM or project manager. So these are just to give you guys some thoughts. And, I want to just make sure that Anand understood where I was coming from, but also that I didn't just give him a super quick and easy answer like a lot of other people would do. Sell this. Like, it's nice to have that. But if you just give a man the fish that he is then going to sell at the market, and then when he sells it, like he doesn't really, when the market demand for fish changes, where the hell is he going to be, right? So Mario says, thanks so much for your response. Going to save that part of the video as an MP4. It isn't strange that the conversion of this channel is so big. Literally, it's you talking with the closest followers. Yeah, I guess so. How much you charge for 1 hour one-on-one consulting, and how could I get it? I made quick math. It gives a lot XD. I could probably afford it, but I don't know if you're into that business anymore because I can't find the product. Yeah, I have actually cut down that product just because time-wise, it was just not really worth it for me. But $1,305 right now. If you're part of my communities, then you get a sizable discount. And the discount is obviously, well, odds are you already know a lot of what I'm going to be telling you anyway, so we could focus on novel and interesting problems, not just me restating community things. And then obviously I want to reward people that, join my community, and I also want it to act as a conversion mechanism. But yeah, I'll be real. Like, if you want to book, feel free, but I don't really do that super often now. I have a couple of recurring clients that I will do coaching with, maybe, once or twice a week, but I focus more on like the information products just because they are a little bit higher leverage for me. Still, I'm going to leave that up. If anybody here is particularly motivated and wants to have a chat with me, feel free. Tusif Wakas0 says, you might scratch your head with this a bit. I'm someone trying to make online recently, and I've started learning automation. And as being a tech literate, I kind of find making and debugging automation somewhat frequently easy. This instills the doubt in me. Can I really sell this thing? Aren't the SEO, content, or making ad services more valuable? Please clarify on my approach and thinking. Luke says, going to second what I think you're saying, which is how can I justify the price when it feels like I'm selling them a simple template? The way I generally get around this concept is twofold. Number one, realize the price is relative to the cost of the client not having it, perceived like not having AI, or real like the cost of customer support agents. Wow, great answer. And two, sometimes that FIs can be pretty easily yet still pay as well. So realize that you're undervaluing your skill, in the freelance market. Yeah, listen, I think Luke knocked it out of the park. The big thing is just the like Luke touched on a couple of important points here, but I think a really big one is, what is the perceived value of the system? And then what is the actual value of the system? That actual value usually is dollar value. It's not just how the person feels. It's like, Luke's touching on a concept called opportunity cost, just stating it in different terms. The idea is like it's March right now or April right now. If in the month of April you had a two-SIF system, you would have made $100,000. If you didn't have two-SIF system, you would have made $90,000. So what is the opportunity cost of you not going ahead with two-SIF and working with them? It's $10,000, right? So the idea that I'm trying to put across is the way that you value your services is you figure out what the bottom line impact is going to be on the business. And then once you know what the bottom line impact is going to be on the business, you charge a percentage of that. So usually when you are dealing with revenue-centric applications, you can charge 20 to 30% of the amount of revenue you're going to drive, because revenue tends to be a lot bigger. Then when you're dealing with cost-saving applications, you can charge up to maybe 50% of the money that you're saving, because that's just ground truth. That's like money you're usually just trimming expenses. It's money in the customer's pocket, basically. Whereas revenue, is subject to a couple of other things. But yeah, basically, it's just all about the like how much value you're actually providing to the customer, I would say. So just because you can do something really quick doesn't necessarily invalidate the quality of the service as perceived by the client. And I do a lot of stuff in 5 seconds that other people would probably take several hours to do. Does that mean that I should charge less money for the fact that I could do it in 5 seconds? I don't think so. In fact, maybe I should charge more because obviously I'm very proficient at it, right? You can check out like the whole plumber hourly rate quote or something. Well, that's not going to find the right thing, but it's like, plumber knocks on the wall and bangs a pipe once, and then he's like, that'll be $500. Chick that hired him is like, what the hell? You just spent 1 minute doing this. Why am I going to pay you $500 for a minute? And he's like, you're not paying me for the time I spent knocking the pipe. You're paying me for the time I spent learning how to do that, learning how to know where I needed to knock the pipe, right? So perceived value versus real value. Robbie says, love your videos. Thanks, man. I'm currently setting up your hiring system in ClickUp and making up a few questions. If a recruitment company hires for multiple roles at the same time, we were just talking about plumbers, mechanics, roofers, plumbers, how should I structure the ClickUp setup to manage this effectively? Once everything is built and the client wants to use it, what is the best way to transfer the setup to their account? How do you approach this professionally? And his last question, what upfront value can I give from this hiring system to potential new clients or leads? Looking forward to your insights in the daily updates channel. Thanks a lot. So if a recruitment company has for multiple roles at the same time, mechanics, roofers, plumbers, how should I structure the ClickUp setup to manage this effectively? You add an additional column and you just call it job type or job role. And then anybody that is going through that system can just filter by job type. So, your mechanic person could just look at mechanics. Your roofer person could just look at roofers. There's just filters in ClickUp. Very quick and easy way to do it. In fact, why don't I show you? This is my ClickUp for 1 second copy, which I thought would have fizzled out like a year ago. And it still continues to chuck along. Anyway, you see how there's a content type article here, content type field here, right? I could just filter based off of content type. I could say, is the content type article? If so, here are all of the things in my queue. You can do the exact same thing with your recruitment board. When something is built, a client wants to use it, what's the best way to transfer it to their account? How do you approach this professionally? I usually like to just do it all on the client account to begin with. So I will actually just jump in their ClickUp and then I will add a space called like work in progress or something, and then I'll just do it there. The reason why I like doing that is because I just don't have to deal with any handoff bullshit. The alternative, if you are building it on your own and then maybe you're doing some sort of like, I don't know, hey, like let me build this out for you and do it in 5 seconds, and if you like it, I'll transfer it over to your ClickUp space, is you create a ClickUp template, which is a little bit more involved, but basically, once you're done with this, if you just right click on this, you see how there's templates and you can browse templates. So what these templates are, is you can do like a space template. You can actually save your entire thing as a template. And then what you can do is you could share. You can get a public sharing link, and then you can copy that link over in their workspace and then paste it in and then download it. So that's kind of like the technical way of doing this. Hopefully that helps. What upfront value can I give from this hiring system to potential new clients or leads? You know what I would do? This would be really interesting, but you could actually, I don't know, are you pitching recruitment agencies on this, or are you pitching people you're doing recruitment for? If you're pitching recruitment agencies, you could actually like fill in a bunch of people that are like vetted and very high quality and just, recycle them, to be honest. Like leads basically, and just stick them in there. That'd be pretty cool. You could get some leads for CRM, add them there. That'd be really cool. You could make a job post using some automated mechanism and then funnel that into the hiring thing. That would be really cool. I don't know how the hell you do that, but I'm sure you could. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that. But anyway, just wanted to give you some ideas. You can think kind of outside of the box here. Ryan Darani says, I have no idea how I found this channel, but I'm glad I did. I found myself watching your main channel videos, didn't know this gem existed. Do you have any tactical advice for growing an audience like you have, finding the right topics, etc.? Yeah, I do. You know, and I'm actually about to publish a video on my main channel for this. So how big is your YouTube, Ryan? So I get you're just starting and you have 5 so far, and you're trying different thumbnail templates and stuff, and it looks like you're using AI for images. I'm just making all these assumptions, but I'm pretty sure I'm bang on here. Honestly, you got it pretty good here, man. I would just continue. Yeah, just continue. Just keep doing what you're doing. Honestly, this is great. I bet you if you just did 100 videos, if you did 25x what you're doing, you would have at least 25x subscriber count, but probably way more. Probably have much more than 3,000 subs. So yeah, I would just keep doing what you're doing, honestly. But anyway, I'm going to publish a video pretty soon, walking through like the specifics of how I go about it in the AI and automation agency space. Because obviously this is a thing on a lot of people's minds, right? Like, hey, Nick grew a ton. Could I do AI automation and then do the same thing? So I just want to give away my secret sauce. And to be honest, tons of people have been copying me anyway. I found a channel the other day. Shoot, my Instagram bro did. He found a channel that was literally copying like everything about our Instagram. Was copying all of our clips, was copying basically the whole script, was doing everything. Then they would just crop me out of our videos and then replace it with them. And these are some big channels, man. Some of them have like 400,000 Instagram followers. So I'm being copied this much anyway. I might as well just give away the secret sauce and actually make something off of it, right? Okay, Abidal Shahada says, hey, Nick, thanks for all your time and efforts you put into both the channels and the community, a lot of value to provide. No problem. I do want to make it clear, I make a ton of money from this stuff. So I love that everybody is super, you know, they're very grateful and stuff, but like, I'm also just not like an altruist. I'm not just giving it all away for free. Usually it's like a funnel that I've built where, you know, I give away so much value for free. The thing on people's minds is, holy shit, dude, if he's giving away all this stuff for free, what the hell is he doing behind closed doors if I pay him a small paltry sum of money, not even $100? And then you get in, you're like, oh my God, this is even crazier. So it's, you know, it's part of my business model, to be clear. I want to get your input on a project I'm working on. I'm building a VAPI marketing agency, real estate companies. I got the backing of a big commercial real estate company. Thanks to my girlfriend's dad. Here's what it does in a nutshell. Interested buyers or sellers fill out a form. Then they get added to a CRM. One sec. VAPI marketing. Okay. So fill out a form, add it to a CRM. Agent calls them, qualifies them one-on-one, then fills a sales agent's calendar with qualified appointments, warm leads. What I'm concerned about is that the lead does not pick up and then calls back. I'm not sure how to set that up and makes the agent get the context of that lead, the form they filled out when a callback happens. Well, do you have their phone number? If you got their phone number, then you can just have a call event come in. When the call event comes in, you immediately check the database with the number. You'll have that metadata in VAPI. So what you do is when the call comes in, you get an event. You can take that event, use it to look up your Google Sheets database or whatever, where you pump all the leads into. And then if the phone number matches, and make sure you like standardize the matching of the phone numbers, right? Because everybody's going to have different formats and stuff like that. If the phone number's in there, then pull that data and then give it to the voice bot. Literally just say like context of the lead, and then just like get your whole form input there. Also, would love to hear your thoughts on the project in general. If you have any pricing guidelines, that'd be great. Yeah, like project wise, sounds pretty cool, man. Honestly, I personally wouldn't use AI to do this, just because if somebody fills out a form for you and they're added to a CRM, they're probably the highest value. It's probably like the highest value situation for you. And that is exactly where you'd want to spend human effort and leverage. If a human being knows how to do something even 20% better than this bot as of right now, the time of this recording, I'm not saying it'll always be like that. But then it makes sense to have a human being do it, because that's 20% more revenue that you're putting in your pocket, right? And if the deals are really big, then, I mean, that 20% might be times $10,000 or something, $2,000 every single time you get a call or something, right? Like the savings that you are making not having a human being do it probably are outweighed by the loss in productivity. So that's my take on that. Hopefully that helps. Lloyd says, do you run paid ads for school and or agency? No, I never do, never have, and maybe I will. Who knows? Sarcasm says, do you have any sort of automation and or setup of tracking your monthly spending habits or investments? No, I do not. I have this. Check this out. A little tracker up here where I actually once a day, I go through and then I literally catalog every purchase of mine that I've made on a daily basis. Now, this is my old tracker, right? This is my old tracker. So this one goes to March the 13th, but I've since copied over a big chunk of my tracker to another sheet where I do it. So no, I don't do this automatically. Why don't I do this automatically? Because this is the whole point. We're in business to make a ton of money, right? And I care a lot about profits. So I like to recenter my intentions every morning with a quick little balance check. And then I just do the transactions and bookkeeping on my own. Takes me like 5 minutes. It's probably some of the more valuable 5 minutes of my day. I wouldn't consider myself super hyper spiritual or anything, but I do believe that it's important to recenter your intentions every day towards the thing that you are trying to do. So in my case, my goal was to hit $166,666 a month, right? And so that's my goal. So I need to recenter my intention around how to achieve that goal, which is just, profit and transactions that are coming in and out of my account, the money that I'm making. So I find that very powerful, and that's just something that I do myself. So that is how I do the tracking. Yeah. Torrin says, thanks for answering my questions. Interested to know your framework for auditing a new client. You create a roadmap for them, have weekly consultations. How do you go about getting the information you need to best define the roadmap? Do you just run off experience, know what questions to ask, or is there a more structured way you go about asking the questions in auditing business for potential AI automations that will solve their problems? This is the last question I'm going to answer, and then I'll duck out. I do create a roadmap for them, then I have weekly consultations. How do I go about getting the information I need to best define the roadmap? Well, usually, okay, so it sounds like you're talking specifically about my recurring clients. So there's some nuance here. I don't do a roadmap for like a new one-off project client. I'll just like ask them questions. I'll consult with them. I'll offer a solution, and then I'll see if they like the solution. If so, and then I create a proposal. I send it over to them, and then we start working together. The big general roadmap thing where I define the problems that they're suffering from and how I think I can solve them. This is something I'll do for my recurring clients. So I will do this after I've done a one-time project for the client, or maybe 2 or 3, however many one-time projects they want, before I can successfully yap enough that they get on my retainer. So what this means is, by the time that I am pitching this big roadmap, I usually know what to put in there because I've just spent a little bit of time building up projects for them, interfacing with their systems, talking to them, right? It's like I've actually kind of peeled back the hood of their business, and I'm kind of looking deep. So that's the nuance there. The reason why I like this pipeline is because with an intro offer, you can maximize your probability of converting on the front end, right? Once you've maximized your probability of converting on the front end, 30, 40% conversion rate, you do a really good job for them if you're confident in your abilities, which I am, then I get to maximize the probability of retaining them because now they're comfortable with me. They're comfortable with my work. They know I deliver a big ROI. They like me. They're a lot more willing to say yes when I say, hey, do you want to spend $6,900 a month with me, right? If you say that to somebody cold, they're a lot less likely to want to do it. And then I can say, listen, I don't just want to do this as like somebody that's building systems for you. I want to do this as a partner. I have revenue goals for you, and I think this could be a $150,000 a month company if we just take the following steps. What do you think? And then they're like, yeah, and then we sign, and then we move forward. So everything's always ROI focused, to answer your question. And yeah, the questions that I ask, like I don't, it's not like I'm doing this on I'm not figuring everything out on the first sales call. The first sales call definitely does help, the disco. I'm learning what the business is actually like behind the scenes throughout the course of my first project, my first couple of projects with them before I pitch them on a retainer. Now, I started offering this on my website, which is kind of muck things up a bit, where you can just like click a button and then, well, I've changed it now. But for a couple months back there, 6 months ago, I literally had my website up where you could just click a button and then pay me for my retainer. Then as my YouTube started taking off, I had a couple of people take me up on that. So I just like wake up one day and there'd be a bunch of money in my Stripe account. I'd be like, oh shit, I know nothing about this guy's business. So what the hell am I going to do? How am I going to do this roadmap? Like, it's great that I'm converting people off the front end, and obviously I'm selling them with my videos, but like, I don't know anything about this guy's business. This is kind of out of the norm for me. So, I don't do that anymore. In order to pay me money, you need to go through a sales process essentially. So yeah, I'll leave it there. Let's do some brand stats really quickly. Just see my growth over the last little bit. Let's do, I don't know what's happening with the Instagram. Okay, no, we got it. 73,844. So my Instagram growth, if I go down to the bottom of this sheet, 844. 73,844. My daily updates channel is 2377. Gone up by 20 in the last 24 hours. And then my main channel, we got to refresh this because things have changed for sure. 66,312. All right. So it looks like that crazy growth spike is now going down. I mean, we just do a little bit of this. It was like this, and then it was like this, and then it was like this, and then it was like that. And now it's kind of like this, and now it's going like that. So that is quite the spike right there, huh? Pretty stoked about it. Yeah, I'm really, really jazzed about that, honestly. Cool. Why don't we just do some strategizing out loud? So, I've hit this revenue goal. I've hit the earnings goal. My revenue actually last month was even higher. It was 174,000, 175,000. Crazy. Just insane. Like I made a fuck ton of money last month. I don't actually know if I'm going to make that much money next month, to be honest, but I hit this goal. So if you guys have been watching my channel for the better part of the last like couple of months, you know that basically every day I come on here and I'm like, my goal is 167K, I say, but it was really $166,666. Because if you multiply that by 12, that's a $2 million year run rate. And that's a goal that I put out like a long time ago. I wanted to see if I could do that with like a one-man kind of solopreneur shop. Now it's not entirely accurate because actually last month I ended up hiring some people to help me. But the revenue that I generated was not because I hired these people. The revenue I generated was entirely me. So I think I can feel confident saying that it was still like a solopreneur $2 million a year run rate business. I don't know. I might be a piece of shit for doing that, but who knows? But anyway, so I mean, I hit this goal, right? It's a lot of money. And I'm sitting here in like a new Airbnb, which is really swanky. And I just got back from like a really swanky gym, and like my lifestyle's probably like top 1%. It's really nice. But you know, I'm kind of running into that question of like, all right, man, so you've done it. You've done all that stuff. You've achieved like the top 1.0. I asked ChatGPT what percentile I was in Canada, and said I was in 0.01 or 0.001% personal income. Because this is US dollars. Canadian dollars, it's just under 3 million, right? So I achieved this extraordinary achievement, which is just like, objectively speaking, crazy. So what do I actually do from here? Like, I'm not a very materialistic person, just so everybody knows. I've never really cared too much about the really flashy cars. I've never really cared about even like nice living places. I'll be honest, even though I got a nicer place now, I'm literally going to spend 90% of my time probably within a 5 or 10 square foot diameter here. And then I'm doing this right by the kitchen because I love the ability to literally get up, go to the kitchen, turn my coffee machine on, and then like, voila, have some coffee or have some tea or eat some food. Like I don't really care too much for all of this stuff that a lot of other people do. I don't really want to like own all these properties and be all super swanky and stuff, which maybe sounds like a shame to a lot of you, because I'm sure there are a lot of really interesting things that you guys would do with this much money, but I don't really care about that. I've just been trying to figure out exactly what I want to do with that. I've been touching on it in previous videos, this whole AI safety idea. I've been doing a lot more work, and I've been connecting with a lot of people to that end, and that's been consuming some more of my time that's not immediately going towards revenue. But yeah, now that I have the time, I can actually kind of take a step back and start thinking about that, right? Like, hey man, so you're put on this planet and you've done this really cool thing in this football game called capitalism, and you're one of the all-star quarterbacks, but like, what do you do from here, right? And anyway, I'm just going to like spitball. Maybe we can run through some strategy together, and hopefully you guys have some thoughts. I'd love to hear it, because it's one thing being in my own head, but I think I've made my life public enough now that there are probably people out there that know me just as well as I know myself, if not better. They can probably pick up on a lot of like behavioral or strategic habits that I might not be able to. So for those of the real ones that are still watching this, I find a few things very important in my life. I find my health really important to me. So health is a really big thing, and I make it like a cornerstone of my life. I think that, the healthier that I am, generally, like the healthier my body is, the healthier my mind is. I exercise pretty regularly and stuff like that. So I really like the idea of having a healthy life. I like Brian Johnson, if you guys have heard about this guy, the guy that like has a blood boy and that like is spending all this freaking money every year to try and be in like the top percentile of longevity. I don't want to do that myself, but I do find that stuff really interesting. And I like the idea of like, open sourcing health metrics and stuff to help other people. So I really like that. I obviously really like progressive improvement. So what I'm doing here is great because it's progressive improvement, right? You literally see every single day I show up, and then you see my Google sheet go bigger with the brand stats, and you see my income go up. When I started publishing on YouTube, I just started like, being like, oh, this is how much money I make. And then every single day I'd go in and like, I noticed that when I talked about how much money I made on the internet, I started doing better. So I started gearing my content towards that. Then I started noticing when I used the term make.com in my video titles, I did better. So I started gearing my content towards that. So I guess what I'm saying is I just do things for a very long time consistently. And then I just slowly, strategically get closer and closer and closer to the, optimal sort of video or optimal sort of approach. So I really like that. That stuff's so enjoyable to me. Progressive improvement in all forms. It's one of the reasons I think health is so cool. I like optimizing my health. It's one of the reasons why I do these things like bookkeeping every morning, just because I get a lot of enjoyment out of that. I do feel in some ways that I have a lot to give. And I do feel like it is very important for me to spend a big chunk of my life trying to help people improve their qualities of life. I think that there are a couple of major problems that the world is suffering from today that are probably low-hanging fruit that you could tackle to improve the quality of life of people. I feel like I was pretty blessed insofar that I was born, like my bulk of my life I've spent in Canada, right? Canada's like, maybe comparatively, it's not as great a country today as it used to be in the rankings, but like quality of life wise, it's still way the hell up there, right? Like, I'm not like scared when I walk around at night. I was given like a fairly good education. I was given like a lovely family that like cared for me and gave me basically everything I could ever want, despite the fact that they came on very hard economic times when they entered this country for the first few years afterwards. So I'm born in a very like privileged position. I hesitate to use that word because I think it's been so like politically distorted and turned into just like this left versus right issue. But I do like objectively feel like I've been born into a lot of privilege. I was also born privileged insofar that like my parents have incredible work ethics, and they gave me that work ethic. To them, it wasn't a big deal to sit in front of your computer and do 10 hours of work. In fact, my parents, my father actually is still like, oh, what are you doing? Are you doing that like little computer stuff? No, like get downstairs, man. Like grab the hacksaw, anytime I see him. So it's really objectively, I was given a lot. And because I was given a lot and I have the ability to succeed probably a little bit easier than most other people, I feel like I owe it to people to give back in some way. So I find that really important. I find that super important. And I'm looking at these low-hanging fruit problems, stuff like AI safety, which I think is big, stuff like our current economy, which is cool. I think our economy could be way more efficient. I think we could improve the qualities of life of so many more people just if we used automation to automate a large portion of like the mindless tasks and behaviors that people are currently wasting thousands of dollars a month on. How much more efficient would our economy be if like everybody used ChatGPT document uploads to like, streamline their processing, or like if the governments used like some sort of locally hosted LLM to like upload a document and extract stuff? Do you know how many jobs we would eliminate, like government jobs we would eliminate? And I don't mean this in a bad way, I mean this in a good way. Do you have any idea how many government jobs we can eliminate overnight? Probably like 30% of the freaking government. Like, it's insane to think about. That's not 30% of people that don't have jobs anymore. It's 30% lower taxes, ideally. It's 30%, it's like 500% faster turnaround times and like these things that everybody needs to do. Introduce that to any government in the world, and that government, like within a few years, is going to end up being one of the most profitable governments in the world, planet Earth, right? Crazy to think about, but like these are just some major low-hanging fruit. I think like access to like entrepreneurial education, like what I'm doing, I think that's a really big problem. So like I'm going to keep doing this no matter what. But like I think about this, like if my videos in total get, I don't know, let's say 1 billion views over the course of the rest of my life, which I think is reasonable. Let's say 1 billion unique views over the course of the rest of my life, which is reasonable. Like think about it. If I live like another like 80 years or whatever, the population of the earth hits 15 billion, like if I continue doing what I'm doing, is it really that crazy that, 1/8 of every person would see me? No, I don't think so. I think like I'm on a pretty explosive growth trajectory. Anyway, if even like 5 seconds of that view is me talking about how to like improve some aspect of your life, like if you add that up across every single person or every single view and every single human that has watched the content, and you kind of like think about it as like, okay, like what minor slight little improvement is that going to make to the way that they think about these problems? Like that might be like the biggest impact in the world. That might be a bigger impact than Genghis freaking Khan, right? So like I think that's really important, and I brainstorm a lot about stuff like that. So yeah, anyway, I guess what I'm just trying to say is I'm just at that point. Oh, and I also think I'm just really like well positioned. Like I'm obviously very articulate on camera, and I can do this sort of stuff for a long period of time. And I already now have like a distribution base that I built in basically just a year, that I think a lot of other people take like 10 years or 5 or 10 years to build, equivalent size wise. So I have like this massive launching pad where I think I could do basically whatever the hell I want. I just want to make sure that whatever I pick is like important, it's valuable, it's also fulfilling to me. So that's kind of where I'm at with this. I have no doubt in my mind that I would be able to hit $10 million a year, if not $20 million a year, if I just continued focusing on money. But, I mentioned that intention stuff earlier, right? Like, what if I just woke up every morning and then instead of me doing my daily bookkeeping, I focused on some other thing that recentered my intentions towards that? Hopefully you guys catch my drift, but I think I'll leave it there because I know this stuff gets pretty boring after a while to a lot of people. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Cheers.